All right. So did anybody have something different? All right. What did you have? Equals what? 40 over 9.6 equals what?
Oh, I meant 48. I was looking at the wrong number. I mean 40.
So you told me 40 over 9.6 equals what? Over 48?
40.
But you already used 40. Is this supposed to be 48? You can't use the same number again. Did somebody have something different from the two that are up there? All right, let's examine them. All right, what does 9.6 represent in the problem?
The shadow
Of
flagpole.
the flagpole. 48 represents what?
The shadow of the building cast. DC.
Building shadow?
Oh yeah. No, building cast.
Huh?
Oh yeah, building cast shadow. You right. You right.
All right, and what does X represent?
The height.
Of the building. So building height. And so 40 represents
Flagpole.
flagpole what?
Shadow. Height
Which one?
for flagpole.
Yeah.
Height or shadow?
Oh. Shadow. A 40-foot shadow.
Is he right?
Height.
Somebody say yes.
But a lot of people say no, and the no's are right.
It is height.
It is the flagpole's height. We already did flagpole's shadow right there. So it went for one up.
So, you know this is. Sometimes you do this.
It's okay. It's okay. All right, so remember, when we set up a proportion, okay, we only drink water in class. That's it. According to the syllabus. Water only. Anything else spilled in here will make it sticky, and that's a hot mess. All right. So, when we set up a proportion, you must have the same relationship in the numerators and the same relationships in the denominator, because we don't groom in class according to the syllabus. The other thing that you need to make sure of is that when you cross multiply, you are not cross multiplying the same thing. Because if you are, then it isn't a comparison anymore. Okay? So, which of these is right? The first one or the second one? Raise your hand if you feel it's the first one. Raise your hand if you feel it's the second one. All right, some people aren't saying anything. We're going to try this again.
Oh.
Raise your hand if you feel the first one is the correct one. Raise your hand if you feel the second one. So everybody didn't raise their hand for the first one. So if you didn't raise your hand for the first one, you should have your hand raised for the second one. It's real simple. Some of you didn't do anything, and that's going to show up next week. All right, when we cross multiply, are we cross multiplying the same thing or a different thing in the first one? Are we multiplying the same thing, cross multiplying the same thing, or a different thing? So 9.6 and 40 both represent two different things? But do they represent two different things?
Oh yeah, they do.
Because one represents a shadow, one represents
But what is the thing? Flagpole. So did the thing change?
No.
Or are they the same? They are the same. We are talking about the flagpole here and the flagpole here, which means you're no longer comparing two things. You're only comparing one. So what you see here has to be the same in the numerator. It has to be the same. You need to be talking about the same thing as is with here, so that when you cross multiply, you're dealing with two different things. Okay? So you will know if you set it up right if when you cross multiply, you're dealing with both things that are in the problem and not just one. In this case, we have a flagpole and a building. So when I do cross multiplication, I should be using a number from the building and a number from the flagpole. Does that make sense? So if you're dealing with the same thing in a cross multiplication, you've got to flip one of your ratios because one of them is wrong. All right? So this one is the correct one. All right, so let's solve for the answer.
I know the answer.
Let's solve for the answer. I was going to call you out, but I decided not to. Okay, so it shouldn't take us that long to find the answer, right? Because we do the same thing for all of them. So what solution did you get?
200.
So X is 200 what? Feet. Questions on number one. If you were unsure of how to set them up, I hope that has cleared it up for you. And if not, by the time we finish, you should have a better understanding of how to set them up. All right? So, number two. You were given a particular shade of paint is made by mixing 5 parts red paint with 7 parts blue paint. To make the shade, Shannon mixed 12 quarts of blue paint with 8 quarts of red paint. Did Shannon mix the correct shade? Explain. All right, so they gave you all the information you needed. You just needed to set it up correctly. All right, so what would be your first ratio? 5/7. Because that's what it told you. 5 represents what? Red paint. And 7 represents blue paint. All right, so if that is my ratio, what paint needs to be in the numerator of the second one? What paint needs to be in the numerator for the second ratio? Red.
Oh, yeah.
Same relationships in the numerator, same relationships in the denominator, so that when you cross multiply, you have 2 different things. Okay? So then I must put 8 over 12 because 8 was red paint and 12 was Blue paint. Volunteer and share your answer for number 2. Did she make the correct shade? Why or why not? Mr. Daniel? Yes or no? And why? Why not? What things? Gotta be specific. What'd you do to determine yes or no? Yes? All right, what'd you multiply? Okay, you said you multiply 8 times 7 and 5 times 12. Does 8 times 7 equal 5 times 12? No. So because they do not equal, then she did not. You got to give me your mathematical reasoning with your answer. Right. So the ratios are not equal. So she didn't make the correct shade. How else could you have done it? What else could you have done to get an answer?
Oh, okay.
What else could you have done in this problem to determine if she was right? You can divide. Were you saying that? What were you saying? Okay, look at it that way. You have to look at it in terms of multiplication and division. Okay? So somebody said we can divide them. So 5 divided by 7, the actual answer you get, the approximation, does not equal 8 divided by 12. They don't equal the same thing. What else could you have done? There's one more thing that you could have done. So we have 5 over 7. What is 8 over 12 reduced? Almost. What is 8 over 12? Which 2 over 3. Does 5 sevenths equal 2/3? No. So those were the 3 ways that you could approach the problem. Divide the ratios, cross multiply, or simplify what can be simplified. All right, any questions on that part? Number 3, you were given the scale on a map of Virginia shows that 1 inch represents 30 miles. The actual distance from Richmond, Virginia to Washington, D.C. is 110 miles. On the map, how many inches are between the 2 cities? All right, so for 3 and 4, they gave you your first ratio. You didn't have to figure out what it is. What's the first ratio in number 3? 1 over 30. All right, so 1 represents what in the problem?
30 miles.
I'm talking about 1 and you talking about 30 miles.
No, it says,
I asked, what does 1 represent?
it says 1 inch represents 30 miles.
I asked, what does 1 represent? 1 represents inches.
Oh.
You with us now?
I'm back.
All right. What does 30 represent? Miles. So then what must be in the numerator on the other one?
110. Hold on, I'm waiting with
X, because X is going to be measured in what? Inches, because the problem said how many inches. So if inches is in the numerator over here, then inches have to be in the numerator over here. Has to be the same relationship. So then what goes in the denominator?
110.
110. So then find the solution.
This one hasn't been already had.
Good. You're going to be practicing everything that we've done this week, next week. What did you understand? Are you okay?
Okay, solving is just cross multiply. So you multiply these two, write your answer. You multiply these two, write your answer. So 40 times 48, you put right here, equals 9.6 times 10. And then just solve it. Okay, so you're cross multiplying. So x times 9.6 is what? 9.68. So you write that first. So write that. Next one from 9.6. All right, equals. And then multiply the other one. So 40 times 48. All right, so now what do we have to do to solve? What operation do you have right now? What operation is 9.6x represent? The other one. It represents multiplication. Isn't that what you did to get it? Yes, so it represents multiplication. So you do the inverse, which is, and what are you going to divide by? What are you trying to get rid of? You solve it for x. You want x by itself. So what do you have to get rid of? 9.6. So what do you divide by? And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so this one is determining, does this ratio equal this ratio? So you can cross multiply and determine that. Wrong way. Put it the wrong way. Or you can simplify the ratio and then yes, that's the one we're solving right now. Okay, so next time just hit delete and then just delete that. Alright, so now do the one we're on now. Solve that one.
3.67. That is a repeating decimal, so I was finna write 6. So you have to round that last number. Why I keep writing 6?
It's 3.6700.
All right, so it's a repeating decimal. So we have to make sure that we we round the hundredths place so that we represent that it is a repeating decimal. All right, what is 67 hundredths as a fraction? You should be able to tell me that off the top of your head. Nope. What does 67 hundredths, what is it as a fraction? It is 2/3. Remember, what is the decimal for 1/3? What's the decimal for 1/3? What's the decimal for 1/3?
1.3.
You got to calculate on your desk. What's the decimal for 1/3? Huh? 0.33. So then 67 would be 0.33 plus 0.33 gives me 0.66, which is 0.67. Those are common fractions that you guys should be able to tell me the decimal equivalent or go back and forth interchangeably between them. Like 1/4 is what decimal? 1/4 is what decimal? How much is a quarter? So 1/4 is what decimal? 1/4 is what decimal? 0.25 or 2500. You should be able to go back and forth between decimals and fractions, the common ones anyway. All right, so let's look at number 4. All right, on number 4, you were given Sam is building a model of an antique car. The scale of his model to the actual car is 1:10. His model is 18.5 inches long. How long is the actual car? So what's our first ratio? 1/10. 1 represents what? Which antique car? The model. 1 represents the model. And 10 represents the actual. So then what represents a model for the second part? What represents the model? 18.5. And X is in the denominator because that's our actual. That's what we're looking for. Don't yell out what the answer is yet, if you've already done it. All right, what'd you get? You should have gotten 185. You should have gotten 185. Questions on 1 through 4? If there's something you don't understand, now's the time to say so. Some of you were having problems and you said you were having problems, so I think we've gotten you on the right track. But if you are having problems with this, you need to let us know. All right. Well, then everybody needs to take out a clean sheet of paper. Do not tear it out of your composition book. If you need a sheet of paper, let me know. Put your name, date, and period. Clean sheet of paper, name, date, and period.
We can put this up in the field.
Yes, you can put it in your composition book. Do not put away your composition book. You need it. So on your sheet of paper, you should have name, date, and period. And then you need to add this to it as well. Notebook quiz.
Ooh. That word crazy. Quiz, that's a new word.
Name, date, period, and notebook quiz. Alright, so here's how this is going to work. As you write your answers, you need to cover them up. When you are done writing your answer, you need to cover it up. Because I would hate for somebody to have wandering eyes and get a 0 for the first quiz rank. You won't need the calculator. It's a notebook quiz. You just need your notebook. So matter of fact, I'm glad you asked. Please make sure that you place all calculators back on top of the communication cards on your desk. That helps me. You don't need it. You don't need a calculator.
Was your problem?
There's nothing for you to work out. It's a notebook quiz. So all you need is your notebook. All right. Number 1. All you have to do is find the answer and write it. Number 1. Either it's in your notebook or it's not. Either you were here or you weren't. But we're going to talk about what the syllabus says when we are done. All right. So, on August 6th, for the do now. On August 6th, in the do now. On August 6th, in the do now, what was the property of equality for number 2? On August 6th, in the do now, what was the property of equality we used for number 2? On August 6th, in the do now, what was the property of equality we used for number 2? Anybody need any more time? All right. Number 2. What vocabulary word means a comparison of two numbers using division? What vocabulary word means a comparison of two numbers using division? I'll even give you a hint. Where do you find vocab? What margin? In the left margin. So if you did what you were supposed to do, you should have what that is in a left margin somewhere. Anytime I say vocab, you should automatically think, I need to look in my left margin on some page. That's your hint. You won't get no more after this one. After the day. When I give a notebook quiz, you don't get any more hints. You should be able to figure it out. It should be pretty quick. It should be the quickest 100 you make every week. Yes. On August 6th, vocab. What vocabulary word, this is still number 2, what vocabulary word means a comparison of two numbers using division? Number 3. Name the 3 ways we learn to solve linear equations. Name the 3 ways we learn to solve linear equations. Where would you find that information? In a learning target. Thank you. Name the 3 ways we learn to solve linear equations. Number 4, when you finish this problem, you can fold your paper hot dog. That's the long way, not the short way. When you are done with this question, you can fold your paper hot dog. That lets me know that you are done. All right. In the do now on August 8th. In the do now on August 8th. Copy the step where the error occurred. Where did the error take place? Copy that step from the original problem. Give me the step where the error was found in the original problem from the do now on August 8th. I don't want the solution, what the actual error is. I want to know the step where it took place. Where did we identify there was a problem? Copy that step down. Anybody need me to repeat a question? Let me know. I will yes. Which question? Number 4. In the do now, on August 8th, copy the step where we identified the error in the original problem. Should be the easiest 100 you gonna make in math class. Huh? 2:35. But announcement come on at 2:30. So I try to be finished with what we're doing by 2:30. Our class is 5 minutes shorter every day. It very much so, especially on the assessment day. That's why y'all have to get in so we can get it done. Huh? I'm not sure. Number 1. On the do now, on August 6th, what was the property of equality we used for number 2? In the do now, on August 6th, what was the property of equality we used for number 2? All right, we're passing right. Everybody's passing right. Hopefully I can finish what I'm saying before the announcements come on. The first thing is just a few reminders. In your syllabus, in bold print, it says bell ringer quizzes will take place on Fridays. This is your prior knowledge. That was your warning in the syllabus. So if you didn't read that, and this was a surprise, it was a surprise because you didn't read the syllabus. The syllabus also states that if you are absent for any reason, you must do what? Go on Edmodo and check to get the information you missed in class so that you don't have an empty notebook coming in, especially if you missed before Friday. If you miss a Thursday and we got notebook quiz on Friday, you're going to be in trouble. So you need to make sure you check Edmodo, get the video, update your book. Okay? Any questions on that? All right? Monday, you guys are going to get an assignment. It's a very fun one. May not be fun for you, but it's going to be fun for me. Raise your hand if you do Instagram. All right? We're going to be doing the educational Instagram
Good
assignment on
afternoon,
Monday.
Saints. I trust that we've had a 5-star Friday. These are our afternoon announcements. For those students that ride bus 410, we will ride bus 1808. 402 will ride 510.
Hang on. Let me stop this.
704 will ride 9902. 1412 will ride